Hey, welcome back to Engineer's Workshop. I am in the small shop today. This is the original, well, it's a building built on the original footprint of the barn for our farm. So it's 36 by 45. It's a block building. It's got a nice concrete floor, zero cracks in it. It is air conditioned and heated. Working on getting the coal/wood boiler hooked up for heat this winter. It was heated by an oil-fired boiler. Cost of fuel oil lately has just caused me to switch over to wood, which I have a lot of. So that's what I'm doing up here. You notice I've got the table saw roughly in place. It takes up much less room. This entire area was taken up by the Beach 18-inch rolling top table saw, which is for sale, including encompassing the pile of walnut over here. So today's project is going to be a pretty quick one, born out of necessity. I'm going to make a soil probe. In case you're wondering what a soil probe is, there's a couple pictures. I can't find one, in stock anywhere. You can get them from Lowe's if you want to wait a few days, but I have a piece of 5/16 square mild steel, and this works because I was hammering this into the ground and I was able to find what I was looking for. In this case, it was my septic tank, but it's going to be very much easier if I can cut this off, use about 20 inches, and then shape it so that it penetrates the ground more easily. And then take just a piece of round stock, weld this on like a T-handle, and then I can push this into the soil, find the edges of the septic tank. So let me show you the point that I'm going to put on this. So to make these soil probes work, you typically have to have a shank of some diameter. I mean, some of these things are like a 1/2 inch, and then they put a steel ball on the end of it. And the objective is, penetrate the ground, but displace a little bit more soil so that when this part comes into contact, it basically doesn't, and it's very easy to push through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this is 5/16 square stock. I'm going to turn a point on it. It's going to end up looking something like this. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch undisturbed, so it's going to be square. Then I'm going to turn down the shank to the flats. So it's going to end up being, a tiny bit smaller. This will actually blend. So I'll have a short square part and then a 5/16 round. I'm going to do that on the lathe. Okay, first step will be to cut it off to length. And like I said, 20 inches I think should do it. So over to the draw cut hacksaw. I wanted to show you a nice little antique store find we got in Ohio. This is a 12-inch caliper, and it's the kind that obviously can swing past itself and do inside and outside. Where's that brand? Focus. McGrath St. Paul. There we go. It's not one I've ever heard of. Got a tension adjustment. Can be unclipped from the pivot mechanism. Pretty neat. So this will go in the drawer of other calipers. This little Marvel draw cut saw really works well. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this casting and these letters, these are about the most precise cast letters I've seen. Of course, I mean, this thing has to be high quality because, you're putting cast iron in tension with the blade, but it's just really, really well made. I don't know exactly how old this is. I would imagine it could go back as far as, I don't know, maybe the teens or the 20s or so. But very simple. You just get up close to your stock, trap it. I oiled this because I was cutting some stainless threaded rod the other day, so this will cut through this in no time. I have a piece of 3/4 inch round stock. No sense in using all of this. I just need 2 handles worth, so 2 hands worth, so about that much. Okay, now over to the big shop, and we'll get these trued up on the lathe. So you can see we've got the chuck in a chuck for holding square stock. Since this is going to be the only project I have that requires this, no biggie. I don't know, maybe most of you know this, but if your chuck jaws are all the same length, and mine are all within a thousandths or so, to indicate square stock, you can set up an indicator and just tick the backside of the chuck jaws, and get your piece running true. And I've got this within a couple thousandths, which is good enough for a soil probe. So I'm going to set a taper, maybe a 30-degree taper on my compound, turn a point, and then leave a straight section. Then I have to angle this some and then reduce the diameter down to the flats. And I'll just keep indexing this out by loosening these 2 jaws, slip it out a few inches at a time, and see if I can get this whole shank turned down to the flats. I don't know if I can use a steady rest on this, and if this doesn't work, I'll just hand dress it with a angle grinder to remove the corners. But let's see how this works for now. I'm going to try to take this high-speed steel tool and plunge it in and take a full depth cut from there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but only one way to find out. Needs to go just a hair deeper. So now the question is, how much at a time can I pull this out and continue this? And it's hot. Try a little bit more than, it's about 2 inches. Oh, shucks, none of my welding recorded, which is just as good because that would have been painful to watch. But they're stuck together, good enough to stick in the dirt. Well, got our soil probe made. Came out pretty nice. It does work, but let's find the edges of the septic tank. I know where the top of it is because I got a stake in the ground. I was able to dig down and hit the actual top of the tank, but I do have to find the edges to know how far we can encroach on this area. I'm standing where the new deck is going to be, and behind it in the grassy area we're going to have solar pool heating panels, so we can't go over top of the septic tank. So let's poke some holes in the ground, find the edges. See, I go down and it hits about 14 inches down. We still have concrete at this point. Still have concrete there. And we don't there. So the edge of the tank is approximately here. I'm going to get some things to mark that. Just the tiny bit of the blue thing shows. I got to get the water circulating after I get this done. Now I know the tank is kind of at an angle like this, pointing toward the house. So I'm going to attempt to find the back edge of the tank. Okay, right about there. I'll mark the back with this little spade, and it's about 5 feet wide. So start over here. We can do 27 feet. I think that's enough for six panels.
I think you only had 24.
I had 18 for 4, and that was generous. The panels are nominal 4 by 12. They end up being about 50 3/4 inches when they're butted together. So I'm gonna have to do the math, but we'd like to be able to get 6 panels along here, and then from the line 12 feet out, they'll come out to about here. So yeah, that'll work out all right. We certainly won't have any support structure over here, so even if we have to hand dig, there's a hatch right here, and there's a hatch pretty close to where I was digging there. It's off to the left a little bit. But worked out all right.
Yep.
We can proceed now. I hope you enjoyed that. That actually worked out pretty well. Soil probe came out nice. It does what it's supposed to do. The square section at the tip displaces, just enough more soil that once it gets past that point, this goes in very easily. I'd say in the hard clay soil that we have here, and I mean we've got some hard pan, it probably takes between 10 and 20 pounds of force to push this in through. But definitely when you hit either concrete or rock or something like that, it just pretty much stops. So it has a good feel to it, and for as often as we're going to use it, we'll just find a place to hang it up, and we will have it for next time we have to locate our septic tank. So that was a quick one. Again, I said I hope you enjoyed it. So back on some projects, I believe next week for the Spitfire. I still need to make it's a spacer for the harmonic balancer that's going to sit forward of its original position. It's going to be a weldment, so got to have a concentric, one end versus the other, perpendicular, parallel, the whole 9 yards, because that thing has to spin true in its new position. So that's gonna be real interesting. This is my son's engineering. This is what he's doing to the front drivetrain, front accessory drive of the Spitfire. So I'm just following instructions and making the parts that he says to make. So we'll get on with that next week. Thanks again for all the subscriptions. Please like and share with your friends. Let's try to grow the channel. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. So until next time, as always, from Engineers Workshop, stay safe.